We've had it shoved down our throats that we need to create authority, we've got to build positioning, we've got to build profile. But what happens if you're feeling like an imposter? Hi, my name is Nicola. In my experience, 95% of business owners that I have worked with over the years, and there's hundreds if not thousands of them, most of them tell me that they don't feel like they have enough experience or authority yet in order to be able to build positioning and to be able to really get themselves out there. Now, what this tells us is that they've got this imposter syndrome thing going on. Have you experienced that? I know I have. Early on, I built up my own personal profile locally. I marketed myself very differently to the way that a lot of other people did within a corporate organization in order to be able to get more clients and stand out from the crowd. And yet, even with 12 years of history in banking and finance and working my way up through the ranks and everything else, landing in my own business, I couldn't see the direct correlation into what I'd been doing before and how that supported me in what it was that I wanted to do now. So it left me feeling like an imposter. It meant for me that I would wear these facades of being professional and being very proper and not really using my own strengths and personality traits in order to be able to get my message across, because I really wanted everybody to think that I was professional and that I knew my stuff. So it took a lot of kind of working out to really be able to see, okay, you know what, I have got the experience, I have got the knowledge, rather than always looking for that external validation. So what I want to chat with you about today is how you can look for the little clues, the pieces of evidence that you already have available to you right now without having to go and do another course, without having to go and get another certificate or another certification or another qualification, in order for you to see that you actually do already have enough knowledge in order for you to be able to build credibility and to be seen as an authority in your world. So let's get stuck into that. One of the big things that most people tend to forget is that they have got a myriad of years of experience under your belt. You know what, maybe you're not a qualified, certified parent, but I know that if you have got children and if they're still alive and they are thriving, then you probably have more than enough knowledge to be able to help motivate and support other parents if that's what it is that you really want to do. So it's not about going and getting a certification, getting that external validation, that other piece of paper, because let me tell you this. All of those people that have got the pieces of paper may not still have the life experience that you have in order to be able to do what it is that you do. So what it is that I want you to have a look at is, if you take a look at maybe the last 3 years or however long it is that you've been doing what it is that you're doing. It might be a brand new business, but what are the things that you've been doing along the way that have kind of helped to support you get to where it is that you are now? Take a look at it month by month if you need to. So what were you doing 3 years ago in January? What were you doing 3 years ago in March? What were you doing 3 years ago in July? And has that helped you to get to where it is that you are right now? Now, what I would ask you to take a look at is not only your work experience or your job experience or your coaching or your practice management or whatever it is that you're doing, but also take a look at your life experience. What were you working through back then? Now, I'm sure if you're anything like me, each year has its own set of growth points, which is, AKA challenges and, things that we learn and things that we progress through and, those lessons that just seem to keep repeating until we really freaking get it. We seem to go through those all the time. So what were you going through in your life? What were you going through in your career? What were you going through with your family? What have you been going through with your health? Because you're a sum of everything, right? You're a sum of all of your experiences. The person that you are today is not the same person that you were 3 years ago. You can't possibly be. If you're committed to self-development and self-growth, then I know that you are going to have been progressing and growing and learning and getting better and getting stronger as you've been working through all of the stuff that you've been working through. The next thing that I want you to take a look at is, well, have you got clients right now? And this is the easiest way to kind of do this. Have you got clients? And if the answer is yes, then that's great. And if you don't, you might want to go and find some pro bono clients. Go and have a look at who those people are. What are the results that you've got for them? Not just in the time that you worked with them, but what are they doing now? You know, I received a message the other day from a lady that I worked with for about 2 years, and I haven't worked with her now for about 2 years. So this is a client I started working with maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And she sent me a message saying, oh, I think about you all the time. She's absolutely flying. She's doing amazingly. The work that we did back then, I know, has had an influence on what it is that she's doing now. I see it in her stuff. There's another lady that I see who is running retreats and, you know, working in her zone of genius. So you can see from people like the results that they get while they're working with you is one thing, but where are they now as well after you've worked with them? Because you had a hand in that. Whether you see the direct correlation, the fact that they are where they are now is a result partially because of the work that you did. So you can use that to really see that it kind of like almost like external evidence that you're able to do what it is that you do and that you have got something of value to share and something of value to say. The next piece when it comes to being seen as being somebody who's able to create authority and, you know, build momentum and making sure that you're not feeling like an imposter is by making sure that you're in complete alignment with what it is that you're putting out there. Because if you're doing something because you've been told that you should, or your mentor said that you had to do this, and yet it feels like it's going against your moral code or your values, or it's just really feels icky, then nothing that you do around that is actually going to work. Now, I'm not saying that if your mentor, like if I said to you, guys, you've got to send out an email, you know, if you're like, oh, that's out of alignment, that's self-sabotage, and that's just, you know, being a poo head, really, as my kids would say. You've got to look at this. You know, there are some things that we need to do, right, that are necessary in order to market and in order to grow and things like that. But if there's something that you've been asked to do that's really incongruent, like getting on stage and selling, or doing NLP on the people who are in the room in order to be able to make them buy, or it might be around going and being all pitch fest on stage, you know, whatever it is. If it feels icky for you, then you don't want to do that. For you to be able to be seen as someone who knows what they're talking about, that someone can really believe when you're talking, you've got to be in full alignment. You've really got to believe more than anyone else on the planet that your stuff works, that it is highly valuable, and that people will get a result because they've gone through and because they've worked through it. So long as you can believe that, everything else becomes a whole lot easier. Then what you want to start doing is start sharing that authority, which we've talked about in other videos. So you've got to share that authority. You've got to share your expert opinion. You've got to be able to do that through your blogs, through your writing, through your social media platforms. If you're going out in person, you're doing networking events or speaking on stage, you've got to be able to share that. And you've got to feel really solid and certain in what it is that you're doing. Otherwise, people will smell it a mile away and they just won't trust you and they just won't believe you. And therefore, that undermines your whole thing around creating momentum and around building authority. They are the best tips that I can give you in terms of not feeling like an imposter. So my name is Nicola. Go do those stock takes. Go get some clients if you haven't got them already and go get some results with people. If you have had clients, go take a look at where people were when they started working with you and where they are now. Okay, and just remind yourself that you're freaking awesome because you are. If you've got any questions, make sure you let me know. Let me know as well if this has been helpful for you, and I will see you in the next video.